So just to introduce my name, if you don't already know me, my name is Eva Perigo. I'm a certified dog trainer and behavior counselor. I'm also a certified separation anxiety trainer. I own Star Dog Training and am the sole employee of Star Dog Training. So I do offer private training services. But then I, as along with Cody Fernandez, and we have a third one, Becky Boss, who unfortunately can't be here today, but all three of us are the founders of Safe Pet Partners. We are a prevention-first nonprofit, basically focusing on how do we prevent the huge flow of animals into shelters and rescues in this community. So our focus is on how do we support individuals who have animals in their home, so that they don't get to a point of needing to relinquish or needing to surrender, or even worse, abandon, or letting them run free. So we are offering lots of different types of programming. We are a nascent organization, so we are growing and building. We do plan to offer more and more programming as we grow, including things like foster training to support both shelters and rescues, as well as foster training to support individuals in crisis who may need temporary fostering for their animals, such as if they have, they have to go to the hospital and they don't have anybody to care for their animal. What happens, right? How do we prevent them from having to relinquish their animal? Things such as, fence reinforcement, free behavioral training, subsidized one-on-one training, and then we really are hoping to get into the schools next year as well and do programming for students in the school so that we can start to create a culture of compassion here in Taos. So thank you all for being here. I'm going to start with just answering these questions that we have. Typically, we're going to be here for try and kind of schedule off about an hour. If we have more time, I'm going to talk about all the stuff I have up here. If we don't, that's okay. I'll get to it someday. And then if you have other questions besides what's written down here, just raise your hand, let me know. We don't need to make this too formal. Just here to help you guys and support you and your animals in the home. So I'm going to start here with this. So this is an interesting thing. So one of the questions here is that I want my dog to chase a ball or frisbee, but he's afraid of anything that moves or makes noise. So I know this dog to be an Australian Shepherd, which typically Australian Shepherds do want to chase things, right? Because they're herding animals. They want to chase things that move. My guess, without really knowing, is that there is a chance that that animal was punished for chasing things in the past. So actually, this actually can lead me into some of these objects. So all of these objects that I have here on the table, and you're welcome after to take a look at all of what we've got here. These are all what we call mental enrichment toys. And these are work to eat toys. And so a lot of times what you can do, these are great for stimulating the brain, keeping dogs busy. You have to go to work and your dog's at home all day long. You can give them things to do. Scientific studies have shown that animals prefer to work for their food than to have their food given to them for free. And so these are ways we can have them work for their food. It tires them out. It taps into natural hunting and scavenging needs. It creates problem solving and helps keep their brains active. Super helpful for active dogs, but also super helpful for even older dogs as well, because it can help prevent cognitive decline as they get older. So in the case of an animal that's scared of things that move, these can actually be a great option to build confidence with foreign objects and objects that move, because they're creating positive associations with them because they produce food. So this is, for instance, just to kind of show you how they work. This is called a Star Mark puzzle ball. If you grab the mental enrichment handouts that are on the table there, a lot of these toys are listed on there. This one's my favorite. There's these 4 little chambers here. And I know you can't really see it, but there's each chamber, there's a 1, there's a 2, there's a 3, and there's a 4. And so there's actually 4 different difficulty levels to this. So if you put the food in the 1 and put the ball together, it comes straight from the 1 chamber out. If you put the treats or food into the 3-dot chamber, it now has to go from 3 to 2 to 1 before it comes out of the ball. So you can slowly make it more and more difficult. I always suggest when introducing a toy to a dog, you always start making it easy to begin with. Since the dog is already kind of scared of things that move, it can also be helpful to maybe, if you're going to use these types of toys, rub peanut butter on the outside. So it's super easy. That's like super level 1. So this is kind of a toy that they have to bash around to get the food out of it. So you'd use like a hard food. Then there are food stuffable toys. So this is an example of one. A lot of people are pretty familiar with Kongs. It's kind of your typical. You fill these with anything that's wet or soft. So wet food, yogurt, cream cheese, applesauce, mashed potatoes, mashed sweet potatoes, mashed carrots, anything that's safe for dogs to eat. You can stuff these with. Same thing if the dog is a little bit nervous. You can start with peanut butter on the outside, so it's super easy for them to get the food. Then can work on the food on the inside. As they progress and get better and better, we can freeze them, and then that makes them take that much longer. So basically, in the context of this Australian Shepherd, you're starting to create positive associations with objects that move and shake. And as the dog starts to realize that these are these really fun producers of yummies, then you can start to engage with tossing it, etc. As you start to introduce throwing of an object, I would have you suggest you start with an object that they've created with, so they already know this to be a good object. And then when you throw it, try not to overhand throw. A lot of dogs get really freaked out by an overhand throw because they feel like they're going to have something thrown at them. So we do a little underhand toss, and they're more willing to kind of chase that toy because it doesn't feel like they're having something thrown at them. This is one of my favorite types of food stuffable toys. This is called the West Paws Topple Toy. It's actually made in Montana, so it is a US product. And they have a really great warranty. So if they get destroyed, they'll replace them for you. This is the large, this is the small. Small dogs, obviously, small one. Bigger dogs, we can use the big one. But the cool thing about this is if you get both of them, they fit together. So once the dog has figured out that they can just kind of eat out of the one and they're getting good at it, then you can actually go to the next step, which is putting them together. Now the dog has to figure out how to get them apart so they get to the inside. The other cool thing about these is that when you fit them together, this is now the next level, is you can take like a bully stick or a chewy and you can feed it through the holes. And so now there's a lock in there. So now they have to pull the bully stick out to be able to get to the things, to open the things. So you've got multiple levels of difficulty. Once again, always start easy, and then as the dog starts to learn and progress on the problem solving, then we can slowly elevate the difficulty. Here's kind of like a soft toy, so if you want to simulate more of like a regular toy, you can like put food in here, and then we squeeze them together, and then give this to the dog. So now they have to figure out how to open it up and get out of the little pockets and whatnot. Different dogs have different types of desires of what they want to work with, but this is, that's where I would start, is starting to, this orange one? This is a Kong, it's from Kong. I don't know the actual toy name, but if you looked, it's the Kong company. Kong makes so many different cool mental enrichment toys. If you go to their website, you'll see there's innumerable amounts. And they're manufactured in Denver, actually, I believe, right? Is that correct? Yeah. Yeah, I mean, like these are Kongs as well. You can get a bunch of these. They fit together. You can create a whole little, and so they have to figure out the same thing, how to get these apart. There's also these types of toys. These are two different versions. This one is specifically for like chewies. So you can stick the chewy in there. It slows the dog down because now they have to figure out how to get the chewy out of the thing. It slows them down. And then lastly, this is not quite as applicable to your question, but I just want to kind of show you what we have here. These are puzzle toys. And so you'd put treats in here, and then the dog has to close it up, and the dog has to figure out how to spin them to get to the food on the inside. This one actually comes with its own little bone. So as the dog starts to get better and better, you put the bone in there, and now the thing doesn't spin. So now the dog has to figure out how to get the bone out to get to the food on the inside. This one is an Outward Hound. Oh, this is Nina Ottosson. So Nina Ottosson, they make a ton of these different types of puzzle toys. They also have progressively more difficult ones, so they're rated. This would be a level 1. The level, I think 3 or maybe top, they have to like spin the thing, to push the thing, to open the drawer, to, you know, get access. So, and it's cool, especially Australian Shepherd, they'll figure it out, you know, as you slowly progress. So, but this is how you can start getting him or her, what's her name? Him? Hank. So this is how we can start getting Hank more comfortable with objects. And once again, just to reiterate, underhand throw once he's comfortable with the toys. Once he's comfortable with the underhand tosses with toys that he's familiar with, then we can start reintroducing toys that he's not as familiar with. And actually, if you want to go with tennis balls, you also put a slit in there and put food on the inside, and that can get him starting to get excited about tennis balls. So that's where I'd start. Now, fetch, not all dogs have fetch as a natural inclination. They won't necessarily chase things. We as humans think, oh yeah, that's what I do with my dogs, I play fetch. But some dogs are just don't, it's a self-rewarding thing. And so if they don't find it rewarding, they're not gonna want to chase the toy. You can teach them to do it, but it's not this like, yay, I wanna do this all day long, because it's like not, they'll do it for us because we train them to do it, but not necessarily because out of their own personal desire to do it. So finding what your dog is into is one of the best ways. So mental enrichment's great. Any kind of brain games. Brain games are super important for those really smart dogs. And then we have another question here of how do I get my dog to jump in the car when they open the door? Assuming that the dog, this is your question too, right?
So the reason is he's 3, and his owner from puppy always lifted him up and put him in the truck.
So he's waiting for that to happen.
So yeah. So I mean, if I get in the driver's seat, close my door, open the back door, and then call for him, then he'll come in. But
so he is capable of jumping in your vehicle.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, and he's not scared of the vehicle.
No.
Okay. So is he on leash or is he off leash when you're loading him up, or does it off? Okay. Sometimes kind of getting them like a running start, like kind of helping them, like starting kind of a little bit farther back from the car and being like, all right, let's go, woo! That can kind of sometimes help, because that's a different action than the paws up waiting for you to lift the butt up. The other thing is put a jackpot in there. Pile of turkey. Every time. And he's going to jump in, he's going to get a pile of turkey. He jumps in, he gets a pile of turkey. He jumps in, he gets a pile of turkey. What he starts to realize is that jumping in the car results in me getting piles of turkey, so you build that motivation for him to want to get up in there. So even if you just kind of set up the pile of turkey, then open the door and encourage him.
And let's not be putting treats that are that rewarding.
Yeah, value. The higher the value. Yep. So if you're, you think, $10,000 over $1, the higher the value. And that's actually how we get dogs who are afraid of cars to also want to engage. And so let's try up in the ante, and also make sure that, let's say this is the edge of your, if this is the edge of your car, like this is the doorway, make sure it's far enough that he can't just eat it and not get in it, right? He has to engage and fully jump in the vehicle to be able to get to the pile. So dogs are 100% aware of what they receive and how much they receive. So the higher the value and the more of it creates more motivation. Because food is to dogs like money is to humans. Like if you were like, here's $1, I'll take that $1. And if you're like, here's $100, I'll take the $100. But if you give me an option, I'm going to choose the 100. And dogs are the same. They may be like, I'll eat a milk bone, and I will also eat turkey. But given an option, they're going to choose the turkey. And then also, actually, on that note, and that applies actually to, I know there's a recall question in here as well, to recall training, is finding what does your dog value. So instead of us assuming what is motivating to our animals, we need to ask them what's motivating. Perfect example is I brought up milk bones. I had a client who we were trying everything under the sun to find what this dog food-wise was motivated by. I mean, we were feeding raw steak, liver. I mean, we tried everything, and the dog was like, eh. And then one day she came home with a box of milk bones, just your regular, nothing special. And that dog was like, I will do anything for that milk bone. So that dog, for whatever reason, loved milk bones more than anything. So you can do motivation testing, where you take like 2 different types of food product and you offer them to your dog for free. without meaning, when I say for free, meaning we're not asking for any behavior. We just say, which one do you want? They will tell you. They'll sniff both and choose the one they want. So to test it out, it could be like, here's a piece of chicken and here's a piece of cheese. Let's see which one my dog wants. We offer. If the dog chooses chicken, we repeat. Let's just do multiple options and to see if the dog consistently chooses the chicken over the cheese. Switch hands as well. Sometimes dogs have hand preference where they'll always just eat out of the one hand. And so that's how you kind of just data collection, is ask the dog, which one of these do you prefer? And I always suggest get inventive. I had one client whose dog, it was frozen blackberries. The dog would do anything for frozen blackberries. So it's not always what we think the dog is motivated by. Let's ask the dog. Popcorn's a big one. Peanut butter sandwiches. Let's go into your fridge. If it's safe for the animal to eat, try it out. Offer them. See what they're motivated by. So back into the recall training, same thing. With recall training, we want to find what is the dog super motivated by. What is their favorite thing on this earth, essentially. So just to wrap up here, let's try higher motivating elements, far enough back that he has to jump in to get the food. And then also, once again, the amount that you give is also important. Dogs can count. They absolutely can. There was a study done where they brought like 8 kibbles in a bowl, showed it to the dog, put it behind a barrier, took some of the kibbles out, gave them back to the dogs, and the dogs every time were like, where are the rest of them? And would hunt for that. They'd eat them, and then they're like, there were more in here before you put that behind there. Where did you take them? So they definitely know how much they're getting as well. So more, higher value. That creates that motivation. And what I'd suggest as well, actually, to wrap up, one more point on that is multiple reps. So he jumps in, he gets the huge reward, he gets right back out. He jumps in, he gets the huge reward, he jumps right back out. He jumps in, multiple reps so that he learns this is a guaranteed result. And that's not for forever. Once he kind of figures out that he's capable of doing it, you'll just change that routine up. You're welcome. So since I kind of touched on the recall, recall is obviously a super, super important behavior. Dog gets off leash, we want to take him for off leash walks. Dog gets out of the house, dog escapes the front yard, whatever. We need to be able to have that animal come to us because it can be a life-saving thing for our animals. The key to a great recall is a great paycheck every single time. So once again, we find that really high value, and that's what we're going to feed to our animal. When it comes to recall training, it's helpful if that reward is something they don't get any other time. Because once again, dogs are aware of what they get and what they receive for every behavior they do. And so if they know that coming when called is how they get access to the top dollar, best stuff in the world, that's how we're going to get a stronger response to that word, because they're going to go, hot dog. Yeah, this is the access to that really delicious stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Question about that,
Yeah.
Because that was my question, and I was wondering about that because I also was a little bit afraid if I was rewarding my dog with running away, if then he was running away on purpose just to get the treat.
So that's a great question.
Yeah.
Typically what you're doing when you're rewarding them is you're rewarding the behavior that they did last. And the behavior they did last is coming to you, right? And so if you were to somehow be able to if he ran away and then he got rewarded for running away, in that was the last thing he did, then yes, but because the last thing he's doing is coming to you, that's what you're rewarding. And so he may take off to go check out whatever that is, but the reality is he's going to start to realize that coming back to you is how he gets that big reward. And actually you start to get a dog who doesn't even want to leave your side because you're this awesome ATM machine that's just doling out the high dollars. Yeah. And so he's like, I want to stick around here because this is where the food happens.
And you don't want to call him by his name all the time, right?
Great question. So that's kind of the next point with a recall. Is one of the best things you can do with a recall is create a unique recall word. Typically we use guardians typically will like to use the word come and their dog's or their dog's name. The problem is we say the dog's name all the time and we say the word come to our dogs way more than we think we do. It's like, come on, Fido, let's go to bed. Come on, Fido, let's come back inside. Come on, Fido, let's get in your cage. Or whatever it may be. We are not conscious that we're using those words. but the dog is conscious that we're using it. They hear it. And so if they hear, their name or the word come 15 times a day or 20 times a day, and only one of those results in a high value reward, they're going to remember that when they're chasing the deer. And you say, come, they're going to go, I don't know, because one time out of 15, I get something, so I don't think I'm going to come this time. I don't want to give up this cool thing I'm doing in order to potentially receive a reward, or maybe not. So if you come up with a unique word, something you don't use in context with your animal, so it literally can be anything. You could just, it could be kazoo. You could be like, kazoo, and that's their recall word. The key is that because by having your unique word, you're conscious of using it, so therefore you can be conscious of paying it. And then you have that 1-to-1 ratio of that dog knows it is a guaranteed paycheck when I come to my human. I know for sure that I'm going to get that paycheck.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that makes sense.
So the other thing is you cannot overpay a recall. So if you're paying it and you're like, I think that's enough, force yourself to give more.
Okay.
Force yourself. The skimpier you are in your reward, the skimpier your dog's going to be on its behavior. They know.
Yeah.
One of the ways I like to kind of think about with recall is that it's an easy thing to train, but it's also one of the hardest things we ask our dogs to do. Because typically when we're calling them, we're asking them to give up something super important. Don't chase that deer. Don't eat that yummy thing you found. Stop playing with your friend. Yeah, don't run in the pond. Don't roll in that gross stinky thing. All dogs' favorite things, right? We're asking them to stop dogging, right? Stop being a dog and come to me. And that's a lot to ask. So I like to put you in that perspective. If you were out doing your favorite thing in the world and work called and said, I need you to come in right now. You have to stop immediately. I'm going to teleport you to work. And then you also don't know when you're going to get access to do that favorite thing again. How much money would your job have to pay you for you to say, no problem, I'll be right there? That's how much money you need to pay your dog. Okay, just really internalize that. Yeah. So we want to pay them super, super well. A lot of times with recall, I'll have a casual recall and an emergency recall. So the emergency is this unique word, and that's the word that you have to pay huge and big and amazing for, but that word is used except for when you need immediate response. Because the other thing is it can be good we tend to over-recall our dogs. We tend to want to call them when we don't always necessarily need them with us, right next to us. Sometimes we just need them to get a little closer or change direction or, kind of just check in. And so if you have a casual recall where it's and that could be come, or it could be another word, where if they dawdle, if they're like, I'll be right there, let me finish this sniff and then I'll come to you, we allow them that. If it's a non-emergency situation, it's kind of allowing them to finish their thing. I mean, the same thing in your home or with your friends. If they're like, Sarah, come over here. You're like, hold on, I'll be right there. Let me just finish what I'm doing, right? And we allow that in humans, so we should be able to allow it for dogs if it's a non-dangerous situation. The other thing is utilizing a let's go. So let's go, some people inherently use let's go or this way. Choose one word, or choose one cue. So let's go can be used in the sense of that's when you need your dog to move along. And so what you can do is you can say, let's go. Give them one cue once and then make some exciting noises. That'll encourage the dog to kind of go, ooh, you're sounding cool. I want to go check that out. And if the dog moves along, we praise, good boy, good girl. If they come to you, we give them a cookie, but they don't have to. So we're not requiring that they come to you. But if they do come along or get closer or change direction, which you were asking, we praise them, let them know, hey, that's cool. That's what I wanted. So you kind of have tiers, and then you have your super emergency. And then that way you also don't have to worry about high caloric intake as well. So you're not just constantly feeding your dog pounds of turkey on a walk, right? That defeats the purpose. So that way you have that kind of in your back pocket. So I carry treats with me on every single walk I go on. This treat bag in particular has 2 different pockets. Show you. So that I can carry a high value and a lower value. So I have my stash for that emergency recall in case I need it. I typically don't need it because my dog has figured out that sticking around me pays off with regular cookies. But I do have it in case. With that emergency recall, as I tell clients, is if you don't have the big paycheck, you can't use it.
Yeah.
You have to keep that ratio of if I say this word, you are going to get paid 100% of the time. If you forgot to bring food with you, You can use, casual recall. You can use their name. You can use the let's go, but you don't have that emergency because you forgot to bring a paycheck.
Mm-hmm.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense. I've heard other various like internet sources or whatever say that you gotta keep your dog on your toes and like sometimes give them treats.
So that's great because that's actually a really good point. So for most behaviors, once the behavior is like really ingrained and the animal has a full understanding of it, then getting on what's called intertrial latency, not intertrial latency, variable schedule reward, but anyway, rewarding them sometimes and not all the time does actually strengthen behavior, but with recalls the exception. Because of the importance, right, of if let's say your dog got out of the car and it starts running towards the highway, we don't want them to wonder if they're going to get paid this time.
Yeah, gotcha.
Thank you. So it's with regular cookies and non as important behavior, yeah, it can be a good way to go. Typically what I tell people is if you're thinking about pulling back on rewarding every time with other behaviors, don't do it until you're willing to bet money.
Yeah, exactly. Okay.
If you're willing to bet money, you're like, hey, check this out, I'll bet you $50, my dog's gonna do it. If you're that confident, then you can start pulling back on the food.
Yeah.
If you're not that confident, don't pull back yet. The dog maybe most likely doesn't have a full understanding yet. But once again, I just can't reiterate enough that with that rock solid recall, we need to give them a reason to choose not to do that.
Mm-hmm.
There's some, I can't remember who coined the phrase, but I thought it was great. You have to be sexier than the squirrel. So, yep, you got to be better than whatever it is that they are wanting to do over there.
Yeah.
So, and they have to know that that's going to happen. Sometimes people will do, they're like, well, I had chicken on me. And it's like, but if the dog doesn't have a reinforcement history of knowing it's going to get chicken for that behavior, it can't guarantee that today it's going to get the chicken you have on you. It needs to have a reinforcement history. It needs to know that in the past I've gotten chicken, and therefore I can trust that this time I'm going to get chicken too. Okay? All right. So, cars. All right, helping new dog get along with current dog in the house when they keep fighting. That's a loaded question. Mary, is this yours? Okay. Is this Jessica? Okay. What typically are the contexts around the arguments?
Right now, they're not in full moon. They're not really for like a long time.
Mm-hmm.
So it'll be like peaceful dinner and food sometimes. And
Okay.
Going outside, like comes in that doorway.
Okay.
Like Jessica's very triggered by that.
Okay.
She's okay with the rest of my dogs, but I did notice if she's going out the doorway, the dog out there, she'll like try and ditch the dog and
Interesting.
kind of vicious sometimes. But I mean, this time it wasn't her fault. It was her fault. It was back in like September. I let Jessica out, and I forgot that the other dog was out, and so they immediately started fighting. And then I got in between, and Aurora bit me.
Oof.
Because she's my other dog, and I should have known better. But anyways, ever since then, we've been like, we haven't had them really get together at all. And I love Jessica and her other dog, but we don't really let them be together.
So it's particularly Jessica and one dog, not all the rest of them, just Aurora. Okay. First of all, do you have spray shield at your house?
Yeah, but I used it and
it didn't break it up. Did you try putting water on them? I mean, I know you know all this from working at the shelter, but they still didn't care. Okay. Did they cause damage to each other?
They caused that fight a little damage, but like it was kind of a fast fall.
Yeah.
She got the worst of it.
Yeah. Which typically happens actually. Redirected bites tend to be way worse than the bites that they'll administer to each other. Classic. I mean, that's just how it works.
What's spray shield?
So spray shield is concentrated citronella spray. I recommend every person in Taos who has a dog that ever walks in public carry this with them. It's just citronella spray, but it can break up a dog fight, or it can also deter an animal from approaching. Like if you have an off-leash stray dog that's coming at you, and spray this in their face or in their mouth, particularly is where you're supposed to try and aim it. Not that you necessarily can. It's not pepper spray. It's just citronella spray. So even if it gets on your animal or on you, it's not going to hurt you. It's like $16 online. It's made by PetSafe. Don't love the PetSafe company, but I do love this stuff. As she was saying, though, it doesn't, it's not always going to work, but every time I've ever used it, it tends to. But if they're already in fight mode, it's probably not strong enough. Yeah, this is much more of like a deterrent, like it's about to happen. It can prevent the other animal from continuing to approach or starting.
They'll have like a stare down, and if I say like, "Come on, like break it up or something," then it's almost like I made it 100 times worse.
Interesting. Okay, are you using when they're having the stare down and you're kind of interrupting with voice? Are you using Happy Talk or? Okay. Yeah. Yeah. So one, managing, I know the food stuff, right? Like if they're going to be in the same space together, we got to pull any type of product that they may want to argue over out of a situation. So before you bring them in together, toys, bowls, even empty bowls, dogs will argue over empty bowls. Wherever the food bin is, get the food bin out of there. Any potential resource that a dog would value, we need to get that completely out of the situation before we bring them in so that there's no guarding happening. Because it sounds like Jessica guards. Yeah?
It's really tough to remove you as the person.
Correct. Yes.
You can also be a resource.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
So in that case,
yep. Great.
Cool. That's the case with Jessica.
One thing I do want to show you, just reference this for the rest of you too. I'll keep going, but just this is a really awesome book. It's called Mine by Jean Donaldson. It's all about resource guarding in dogs, and it's got training plans in it, so it helps you understand it. And then it also has step-by-step training plans, including human guarding between dogs and I think it's mostly guarding towards humans, but you can just basically replace the human with the other dog. Highly recommend this book. It's super affordable too. You can get it online. But I think there is also a digital version as well. Specifically about resource guarding. There's also another book I'd encourage you to check out called Fight, also by Jean Donaldson, and it's all about dog issues and same thing. There's like actual training plans in here, step-by-step, understandable training plans, like step-by-step training plans. On how to, and also understanding what's the motivation, right? Like, why is my dog fighting with other dogs? So you can kind of understand, is it because she doesn't like other dogs? Is it because it's just guarding? Is it because she's a bully? Like, my dog is both, she's kind of two. She's both a bully. She likes to beat up other dogs. She's never causes damage, but it's fun for her to kind of, it's so annoying. She's such a little punk. I love her so much. But she's also nervous around unknown dogs. So there's kind of a combo that happens sometimes. So Fight is a really great book as well. I don't know what happened to my copy. I think I lent it out and didn't get it back. However, what I would suggest in the meantime also doing before you get the books is, because it sounds like Jessica tends to be the instigator, is that correct? Is getting her, we taught her a hand target, right? At Stray Hearts?
I'm sure we did. I mean, she's really good at it, and I should probably.
So
I believe Becky worked really hard with the target
yeah,
to get
the harness. Yep. So, so for everybody else, I know the dog she's talking about. She's from Stray Hearts, and I used to run the behavior department there, and so she was one of our behavior dogs. And Mary very graciously took her into her home. She was a super shut down dog.
I would just like to add.
Yeah.
She was in
Yeah. Yep.
Not
Her fear was extreme.
very sweet girl too.
Yep. Once she opened up, she was super sweet. She'd do this little dance, but her circle of trust was very, very limited. It took a long time for her to build any trust with any human. But the team did great work with her. I mean, you guys did. So what I would suggest with her is let's get that hand target back on board and get it on cue. So to introduce a cue, Yep. So you just say touch, take 2 seconds, and then you're going to put your hand out for her to come target. Yeah. So it's cue first, touch, 2-second pause, and then we bring the hand out. And the reason being is that dogs have a really hard time understanding verbal cues because we talk all the time, and so it's really hard for them to pull out what words are important to pay attention to. So it takes them a long time to figure out that's an important word. So the way we can help them learn that word quicker and more readily is by putting it out in front, because dogs are super good at sequencing, understanding sequencing. And so she knows, oh, I target the hand. If I touch the hand, I get cookies. What she's going to start to realize is, the human always says this sound right before they put the hand out. And I know if I touch the hand, I get yummies. So let me see if maybe I start to touch that hand. I know she's about to put her hand out. If I start approaching now, after I heard that sound, I wonder if I can get to the food faster. And that's how they start to recognize. And sure enough, it does. And that's how they get that verbal cue on. It's the same thing with sit, same thing with down. It's verbal cue, pause, and then we give them the hand signal to support. It also, in that pause, starts to show you when the dog learns the verbal cue, because in that pause, before the hand's out, she'll show you that she knows it because she'll start approaching you before she's even seen the visual of the hand. And so you're like, oh, she's getting this word because she heard it and goes, I know what to do now. And same thing as we talked about with recall is pay that one really big. And the reason being is that we're going to use it as a redirection cue, meaning if you start seeing her posturing or she's getting into doorway, or there's a situation where like, uh-oh, 2 dogs near a doorway and we need to get her out of a situation, or there's oops, I forgot to pull the bowl and she's, in guarding mode, that's my bowl, or whatever it may be that she's guarding. Yep, is we just touch. She knows what that means. She knows what to do in that situation, and she knows she's going to get paid heavy for that. And so she's going to come running over. So similar rules for the emergency recall, which is pay really well, pay really heavy. You also get a side effect. So emotional learning is always happening in the background. Dogs are there. Emotional learning is just, it's always there. They call it like Jean, our mentor, she says, Pavlov's always on your shoulder. And so, meaning this emotional learning is always happening. So what she's going to start to do is create positive associations with these scenarios. So she learns, I go near doorway, mom calls touch, I get a pile of turkey. Therefore, me being near doorway when other dog is near doorway means I get a pile of turkey. So maybe it's actually kind of cool to be around this doorway when there's other dogs, because it always predicts me getting yummies. It always predicts me getting something really fantastic. So you actually start to create these positive emotional opinions about these situations, which help counteract. And so you end up, as a result, start seeing them be less and less upset in those situations because they're like, I know nothing bad is happening, and actually I'm getting a pile of turkey. That type of learning takes some time, though. But by using the TOUCH, excuse me, there's no dogs in the room. I'm so used to spelling it. Yeah, exactly. It's such an automatic response because I spell it in front of my clients. Using the touch as a redirection tool at least gets her out of that situation. But it has to be super, super strong, and she has to have a really strong reinforcement history with it, meaning having it work out for her to get cookies outside of that context in order for it to work in that context.
Like if I'm doing it just practice, do like a super high down and stuff.
Every time. Yep. That's how she creates that association. Because if you only give her milk bones and then in the real situation you're going to give her turkey, she doesn't know that she's going to get turkey because she's only ever gotten milk bones. And she's going to go, it's not worth it. I want to fight this dog over this situation. And that's better for me in this situation than getting milk bones. Yeah, so she...
If you're using the T word, does it matter your tone of voice? Like,
great question.
I got a deep voice.
Yep.
Do you want the baby to, is it better for baby talk in general?
Happy talk is always going to help, typically help a situation. Not always. There are dogs who, as even as Mary said, like some dogs you go, and that stresses them out. You're like, and they're like, go too much. So you can be, it's dog dependent, but we don't want to use a voice. It's not touch, it's touch, For men who have deeper voices, as long as you kind of make it sing-songy, that can help counteract the deeper voice.
Yeah,
Yep.
Kind of how I've handled my dogs is I'm always thinking of how I would be talking as when I was 5 or 6 on the playground.
Yeah.
Because
That's a great,
think of the
that's,
child more than like high pitched or
Yep.
anything like that. Just a kid's voice.
Yep. And I mean, typically dogs respond more to that kind of happy talk voice than any kind of stern. I mean, dogs will respond to stern, but typically they're responding that because they're scared. And the last thing we want, like in a situation where the dogs are already having a tense situation, is if we add stern to it, we're adding tension into that situation. So, you know, people will be like, well, if I use my stern voice, the dog responds. But usually they're responding because they're going, oh, okay, I'll do it. I'm sorry, I'm scared. And that's not what we're trying to, you know, accomplish. We want the dog to be like, yeah, I'll do that. This is awesome. Woo! We want them to have, you know, positive associations with us, what we're asking them to do, and the situations that they're finding themselves in. But if the happy talk is you feel like setting them off, that's where that cue comes in, because then she at least knows exactly what is being asked. And some dogs will find relief in that situation too. She goes, phew, I don't have to worry about this toy. I'm going to go over to my human. I know what to do in this situation. It gives her an out. It gives her an opportunity to get out of that situation. Yeah.
If you do that, and this other dog then also is triggered, approaches you, do you see?
Do you mean to do the TOUCH?
Yeah, or just because she smells the food as well. Or what the situation is there a possibility that could escalate the situation?
That it's going to be somewhat dependent, but I can kind of reference this back. Can they eat food next to each other, or will they fight over it?
So,
Not like in a bowl, like handed to them.
like, right now they can't even
Be in the same room.
together.
We haven't tried.
Okay.
But like they're segregated right now.
Okay.
They have like gates and like doors and stuff in between them. And like last time we were like, in the hallway where the gate is. Like any of the other dogs, she's just not fixated. Like just like they're fixated on this one dog.
Is she the only other female?
No,
There are other females.
they're all females.
Okay. Yeah, sometimes the females just don't like each other sometimes. So on that note then, so this is like what we talked about is 1, let's manage, right? And 2, let's say we get ourselves into a situation, if you have that TOUCH there, because it's at this level, you do have a baby gate? Okay, so I would do double layer protection, which means 2 handlers, dogs on leash, and baby gate. So that if for any reason dog pulls out of a collar, or leash gets dropped, or they chew through the leash, which can happen super fast if you've never experienced it. The shelter workers know how quickly a dog can chew through a leash. At least you have that. Then you have that second barrier. You have that second level of protection. And what you're going to do is let's just do straight what's called counter conditioning. So working solely the emotional side of stuff, which means let's say it's in a hallway. Okay, so like. Jessica's on, actually, I mean, we have 2 dogs. Sweet. So Jessica is on leash with handler A in the hallway, and then there's a baby gate right there. Okay. Then what we're going to do is we're going to take, the camera's not going to be able to see this, but that's all right. Handler B, how long is the hallway?
It's pretty long. It's probably at least as long as this opening.
Okay, and the door and the
And then Aurora would usually be in the hallway because she can come out over here.
okay.
And then this would be like another room, like on that side of the baby gate.
Okay, so then we're going to do this opposite, and then the camera can actually see. So Aurora's in the hallway behind baby gate. Jessica comes from out of sight, on leash, out of sight, into view, not right at the baby gate, okay? Other side of the room. Comes into view. And then both handlers are going to have tons of food on them. And as soon as the dogs see each other, happy talk ensues and feed. No behavior required. Just, oh my goodness, and you just feed for about 5 to 10 seconds. Doesn't have to be exact, but around that. And then we take Jessica out of sight again. And then, very small. And then we give it about anywhere from 30 seconds to a couple minutes. We bring her back out. Same thing, as soon as they're in sight of each other, happy talk, feed, 5 to 10 seconds, we remove her. So once again, it's exposure time, 5 to 10 seconds, and at least 30 seconds if not longer, between exposures. And you,
Kind of like the harness that was the dog.
it's exactly, yep. So what we're doing is you're saying, anytime you see this dog, good things happen for you. We're not putting them in a situation that elicits that aggression. We're not putting them in a situation where they, either one of them feels like I have to guard my stuff, or I have to protect my body, or I have to, be concerned by what the other animal is doing. So short exposure at a level that does not elicit a negative response. Two things are happening. One, they're getting positive associations. Each dog realizes, when I see that dog, good things happen to me. And two, nothing bad is happening. They're not being put in a situation that creates that negativity. This process takes a long time. It does. I mean, you know it. You saw it at Stray Hearts when we're trying to get dogs to be comfortable with things. It can take a very long time. And Jessica's has a history of fear, right? So she's going to assume that something is dangerous way quicker than a well-socialized, not formally feral dog. That's her go-to because it kept her alive. Assuming that things are dangerous and scary keeps her alive, or did keep her alive in the past. Correct, yep. There's a reinforcement history of knowing, like, if I either attack that dog, then I have my food. If I run away from this human, I stay alive. So it's what we call ritualized aggression. They figure out yep. So you will not intensify this situation until when you bring her in, you see happy. When you bring Jessica into view and you get, how dogs, if you like crinkle plastic and they're like, you know what that means? That's what's called a positive conditioned emotional response. They are not born knowing that the crinkle of plastic means food. They learn that, right? And we get this positive, happy response. That's all emotional. They go, I know what that sound means. That sound means I'm about to get yummies. This is what we're doing here. It's just that instead of plastic crinkle, it's dog. Instead of plastic crinkle predicts me getting yummies, it's every time I see the dog, that's going to predict that I get yummies. So you don't intensify this and bring them closer together until they see each other and they go, oh, I know what that means. I'm about to get yummies. And so that can be in the form of a nice soft tail wag. You just think what they look like when they're super happy. Well, what they look like when they hear the bad crinkle, right? When you see that type of response to the presence of the other dog, then you can go to the next step. With this type of learning, the slower you go, the faster you go. Meaning if you feel like you're going at a snail's pace, you're going at the right pace. We as humans tend to like to push our dogs. And so we'll go, I think they're ready. And then we go to the next step. And then we have a bad interaction. And we basically just counteracted everything we just built. So back to like the harness. Like if she's at a point where she could handle, let me take his glasses off. She could handle having the harness over her head. And then all of a sudden, she was good with this, and then all of a sudden we go into full strap, and she's not ready for that. Well, now she goes, that harness is scary. And all of the work to get her to that step is gone, and we have to start at square one again. So the slower you go with this process, the faster you go in the long run, because you're not resetting. I like to kind of think of it as like signing a contract with the dogs, which says, I will not push you past the level that you tell me you're okay with. And if we do, we're breaking that contract. And then they're like, all right, well, this is a breach of contract. We're starting over. So think about it as a contract. I'm only going to push you to where you tell me you're okay with it. And the way they tell you that they're okay with it is through their body language, right? Happy. I'm good with this. I like this. I'm happy with this step. Okay, we can intensify. So the general rule is if they're neutral, there's no negative reaction, but there's no positive, you just stay where you are and keep working that level of intensity. If you see positive, we can increase intensity. If you see negative reaction, that tells us it's too much. We push too far, and we got to make it easier for them. Distance, how far away the trigger is. This actually applies to this other question about car anxiety. It's similar theory. Distance, how far away they are from the trigger. Exposure time, how long they have to be around the trigger. And then what is the trigger doing? Is it just standing there? This is where you start, but eventually you start moving into movement, other elements, different spots of the house, etc. But that book, Fight, will also cover a lot of this. Yeah, it's a great. Jean is one of the best trainers in the world. She's amazing. Anything she writes, I encourage you to read it. Culture Clash is actually her pinnacle book that she wrote a long time ago, and it is one of the best books, in my opinion, ever written for really understanding the dog brain and also its comparison to the human brain and how similar we are and also how very, very different we are and how much we think dogs should be something because that's how we are, because we're just so egocentric as humans. Highly recommend it. Side note, we do have a bunch of books over there just as a good reading materials if you want to take a look and just see what kind of options there are. Does that help? Okay. Kind of, I guess the last bit for this to work and actually land is there's some mechanics that have to happen and timing. So a lot of times what we do as humans, when we have the food on us, is we get ready. So Jessica's over here. And we go, okay, I'm going to expose the dogs. I'm going to get my food ready. Now, as soon as I do that, as soon as I reach into my pouch or I reach into my pocket, the dog goes, I'm getting food. I know that. That's pre-learned. And now the dog's getting food because you reached into your pouch and then there happens to be a dog over there. They're not making the connection. So we have to be really careful not to get prepared. We walk Jessica in, we keep our hands very far away from our pouch. She sees, we wait for her to see the trigger. Now I can reach into my pouch and pull out the food. Because we want the dog or the car to be the predictor that good things are happening, not because I reached into my pouch, not because I crinkled a bag. These are so pre-learned and so strong that it'll overshadow the learning we're trying to create. So it's just so salient. So we have to wait until the dog goes, I see trigger. Then we can reach and pocket reach and bag crinkle all we want. And then feed. And you're going to feed the whole time the trigger's in view. And then as soon as trigger's out of view, we stop feeding. And what this does is it helps teach the dog and really nail it in for the dog that the reason the party is happening was because they saw the thing, the trigger. It's
if I had just looking at the trigger and have the trigger walk out of your view or have her walk in and out of view?
I would have her walk in and out of view. And the reason being is that movement can sometimes be a trigger. And so we're kind of, by the dog walking away, we're kind of intensifying it because Aurora's moving. Also, sometimes you'll get retreat bite. Dogs will get more confident when the other dog's moving away. And they're like, yeah, you get out of here. And they'll go for them. It's kind of this, yeah, get out of here. I'll show you. But they wait till the dog's moving away. Or the human. It happens with humans all the time. So yeah, she's going to be the one moving. Eventually, you can move up to that, having her move. But for now, we want her as basically as innocuous and kind of boring as possible. Once again, I just really encourage you, don't do this. And then don't pocket reach until after trigger, till dog notices trigger. And then secondarily, if basically, I know you're keeping them separated now, but if there's any exposure ever, so let's say Jessica's behind the gate and Aurora walks by and you notice that, somebody's got to run in there and feed Jessica food. Because for this to also work, there needs to be what's called a 1-to-1 ratio, which similar to the recall training, which is if they see their trigger, they have to get the party. And the reason being is if we only do it sometimes, then the dog is never going to be able to adequately predict whether or not this is a safe situation or not. Because if they're like, sometimes I see the dog and I get food, sometimes I see the dog and I don't get food. So how the dog isn't able to predict that the dog is a good thing and is always going to predict good things. So it's kind of like, well, sometimes I get good stuff, but sometimes I don't. And I don't know if this is safe or not. So I'm now they're just going to rely on, I'm going to assume it's still dangerous. That's their natural space. So I kind of also like to think about this in human terms. So I am extremely terrified of spiders. It's kind of embarrassing. I say it's because I grew up here and there's spiders everywhere. I mean, since I was a little kid, it's like ingrained in me. My mom has a story of me being like 6 months old and sitting on the ground and seeing a spider, and I'm like, so if somebody were to do this process with me to help me get through my fear of spiders, essentially, if somebody were to, anytime I saw a spider, $10,000 drops out of the sky and falls into my lap. If every single time I saw a spider and I knew $10,000 was going to fall out of the sky, you can imagine I'm going to probably start to like to see spiders and actually even start seeking them out because they are now a reliable predictor of good things. However, if the spider sometimes predicts $10,000 and sometimes doesn't, I don't know. Is this a good one or is this a bad one? I'm probably going to assume it's a bad one, right? And then what we're doing here is like if a spider were to drop out of the sky right now, down here, I'm like, ugh. I'd scream and I'd run away because this is too intense for me, right? So if somebody were to do this, the reason we're having them like have some distance, no movement, small exposure. In the spider analogy, it'd be like if somebody were to show me a spider in a box like across the room. I can handle that, right? And so it's presenting the trigger at a level that doesn't elicit that fear response or that aggression response. Because it's way harder to make that connection if you're redlined. If you're like, I do not like this, I'm screaming and running away, and somebody's like, but here's $10,000. I mean, eventually it'll work, but it's way harder than if I'm like, I can handle that. If we're at a space where the animal's not in that red line space. So learning takes way more, learning will happen better if we're not putting the animal in a major fear response space. As you can imagine, personally. Yeah.
I would say if you want to teach the touch solid by herself first,
Yep.
get that solid, and then start this introduction. And then I have a question too. Are you worried in that situation when you're handling Jessica, she sees this other dog, are you worried about her getting to that red line real quick and redirecting to you?
She doesn't redirect me.
Okay.
She likes to she like if Aurora's in the hallway, like acting or whatever, she'll be at the baby gate just like barking and jumping, and there's like a little tiny gate for like the little dog.
Okay. If you're getting the barking, you can have, so if Jessica's on the far side of the room and Aurora just comes into view, she's going to start barking.
She fixes on her at the very least, and she barks. If she can hear Aurora, there's like a door in the back of the house, and Aurora goes outside, and she can hear her outside. So she barks all the time.
Jessica. These things will help her in general. Mental enrichment's going to be huge for her. It builds confidence. It gives her an outlet. You know what I mean? It gives her other things to do than focus on the other dog. Especially if she has stuff all day long to do, something to do, instead of just sitting there kind of, ooh, I think I heard something. If you are getting barking, though, if you do bring Jessica into view and she immediately starts reacting to the visual of Aurora, get her out of sight again and move Aurora down the hallway. And then bring Jessica into sight.
I'm thinking I'll probably have Aurora just start
way at the end of the hallway. Yep, that's where I would start. And then same thing, we can bring Jessica into view, take her out, bring her into view, take her out. But Aurora can be, way down there. You start where you have to. I mean, I've had dogs who are reactive to other dogs, and I mean, the dog is this big, you know. I actually use these guys too. That's one of the reasons I have these, is that for dogs who are super, super reactive to other dogs, I actually just set the fake dog up and start with the fake dog. And then we move into real dogs, because this is less intimidating than an actual animal that's moving and giving off body language and whatnot. And some dogs, this is all they can handle to start with. So that's why we have these guys.
Is that how that one got so big?
Actually, yeah. So we were actually left it. This is when we worked at Stray Hearts. We left it in I think it might have been Douglas. Yeah. We left it in the yard, and they ripped it open. This one's brand new as of today. A new addition. Thank you, Cody. Got himself one. Because she's fine with the other dogs.
Yeah.
Okay.
Fine with everybody.
Okay.
Sometimes, I've noticed, it's just the doorway. I have to, let Jessica out in the back there first, whatever, and then if I have, my other dogs, well, Juniper, she's totally fine with, and then Aria usually leaves the door, but Aria, if she's in the house and Jessica's out and I Jessica in, they're fine. But if you let Jessica out and there's a dog outside, she can get kind of growly. She doesn't fight with Aria, though, because Aria's very good at like, I don't want any trouble. So
Are you letting her out? She's not on leash.
she can be leashed, but
Okay.
I usually just let her run out.
Yeah, it may be slowing that down. You know what I mean? If there is a dog already out in the yard that's not Aurora, it's just slowing that down so that it's not this run up type of thing, slowing down that interaction. If you have the TOUCH actually built in there, just redirect it until she's near the dog, so there's not that buildup.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's where I would start. Down the line, I mean, back to what Cody was saying is kind of what we're asking about, which is like, what if we are in a situation where we now can have them together and we are redirecting with the TOUCH? At that point in time, they've had enough exposure, they're probably going to be okay with each other. However, if they do come running over, feed like this. You know, don't try and feed here.
Gotcha.
You know, get yourself prepared and feed as far away from each other as possible. And you don't necessarily have to have the food on you. You can go and grab it, you know, like touch, and then we run to the kitchen and we grab the food. So that way you're not getting food on you that's being guarded. Yep.
Would it also be in that case rather than teach Aurora?
Not necessarily, because I am actually trying to get them apart from each other. Inevitably, the other dog will start coming over because they're going to go, wait a second, there's food being delivered over here, so I'm going to come running over too. Yeah, it's kind of like, how do we pull the animal away from the other animal? Get them out of that situation, away from the object they're guarding or the space they're guarding, out of a tight, narrow area. Tight, narrow areas, man, dogs do not like that stuff. They don't. And that's because they're at a disadvantage. They know that. So with the car anxiety stuff, it's kind of going to be the same thing. I know you came in a little bit later. There are some handouts here that talk a little bit about desensitization and counter conditioning, which I encourage you to take.
Well, I'm not so open to the reward-based training, so I'm not sure if you have anything to offer that's not in that.
I mean, if an animal is upset by something, the only way we're going to convince them that that thing is safe is to prove to them that it's safe. And so forcing them to be near it, not going to teach them it's safe. You can do just straight desensitization, which is just exposure therapy. But same thing as I was explaining with the spiders, it has to be at a level that doesn't elicit the fear response. So like this is what we do with separation anxiety, is like short exposures.
And that this kind of thing is completely out of my control because it's a sound of a car 2 or 3 miles away will trigger it.
I mean, counter conditioning is the best way to do this. This is, you know,
Being the reward.
no, it's not rewarding. It's creating positive associations.
Okay.
It's back to that 10,000. So it's not saying I'm rewarding you for listening to a sound. It's saying, I know that sound currently predicts, in your brain, predicts something scary is about to happen, but I'm showing you that it actually predicts that something good's about to happen. That's how this is Pavlovian conditioning. It's learning theory. So it's not really about like it's not a way of training. It's how vertebrate animals learn.
Sure.
And so
you do like the playground voice and play as.
yeah, I mean, if the dogs, if it's what's the dog motivated by? So some dogs aren't into food, and so, or asthma. There's no such thing as a non-food motivated dog. That's a dead dog. But if they're super into toys, you can do play, you can do toys, you can do happy talk. It's what is the dog mostly into? Food typically is the most salient for dogs, which is why I go there. Yeah, and so if toys are his thing, go toys, absolutely, or play. Some dogs are, it's touch, but it has to be what does the dog want, right? Not what we want the dog to want, but what does the dog want?
Well, what I'm kind of thinking then is part of what you were asking about is because you can't predict when this sound's going to happen,
Not at
right?
all.
Yep.
So can you kind of tell her how you can
So one, you can do opportunistic. So he hears a sound, that's going to happen.
Right.
Life happens, right? That truck goes bang, bang, and then we've got a panicking animal. Coming in there, comforting, giving him love. If he's in panic mode, he may not want to play, or sometimes this happens too, not want to eat in that moment because they're too freaked out. So we just, at the very least, happy talk, help calm, help support. Similarly to if we're freaking out and scared about something, it's nice to have a friend come in and be like, I'm here for you. Until that kind of, that anxiety or fear response starts to decrease, and then we can come into play. So you can do it opportunistically. You hear that noise, you go, I gotta find my dog. And I'm gonna give him that positive association. The other thing you can do though is that you can find a lot of these noises online, and you can play them through your computer or through a speaker at a level, same thing as we were talking about with the dogs, at a level that doesn't elicit the fear response, where they're aware of it, they hear that car sound, let's just say a horn, I'm just gonna throw out a horn. They hear a horn, the motors, okay. So you could look like diesel truck noises online, and then play the diesel truck at a level, through a speaker, at a level where they're aware of it, but not freaking out about it. And then, oh my goodness, woo, here's Jack, woo, and you know, all of the good stuff. Then stop. 30 seconds to a couple minutes later, or even later in the day, play it again. And we just keep repeating that at that level until he goes, I heard a truck noise. I know what this means. It means I'm going to get to have a play session with mom. And then we go, then at that point we make it louder. And so you can, that's how you can start to, is like, and I would document, like really create a trigger list, like write down, we know it's truck noises or loud, you know, car noises, motor noises. So, you know, write down what it is. Also pay attention to what I call a trigger journal. It's like, pay attention to also like, is there a time of day that makes a difference? How much exercise he's had that day, does that make a difference? What's the other dog doing, does that make a difference? How much time have I been at home with him, does that make a difference? Like really when he has a panic expression to something, what else is going on in that day to see if maybe those are contributing factors to the result. Sound sensitivity is a hard one. It really is. A lot of times sound sensitivity is genetic, and genetic fear is a lot harder to get rid of than learned fear. Doesn't mean it can't happen. It's just harder. Now I'm just putting this out there. I know people are resistant to it, but anti-anxiety medication is super helpful. There is a reason why they have this type of medication for dogs.
Yeah, I tried that.
Do you know which one you? Oh, we don't want that. Yeah, no. So if it's making them like any medication that makes them, we're not trying to drug them. Yeah. We're trying to make them happier, yeah. Right? More themselves. So if at any point in time a medication that you're giving your dog zones them out, that's not the right medication. That's the wrong one. Right. So typically, like, I'm not a vet. I cannot tell you what type of medication to give your dog, okay? But I'm going to give you examples of different types of medication that you could ask your vet about. So Prozac is a very commonly prescribed one. It's an SSRI, which means it's a serotonin reuptake inhibitor. So it helps keep the serotonin flowing through their blood. That's like a, SSRIs are basically a medication you give your dog daily. For a situation like sound sensitivity where we can't predict the exposure, that's usually a good route. There are other versions of these daily type of medications that aren't SSRIs, like busoprone is one, clomicalm is another one. These would all be questions you have to ask your vet. I'm thinking about some behavioral medication for my dog. Typically drugs like trazodone knock the dog out. And that's a commonly prescribed one. But they do sometimes have sedative side effects, and so we want to make sure we don't have any sedative side effects for these. The reason Prozac is so commonly prescribed is because it doesn't really have a lot of side effects. It's a really well understood drug. It's super affordable. There's tons of studies on its efficacy for helping support fear, aggression, anxiety. But there's lots of different varieties. Your vet is the one who's most comfortable. They're going to prescribe what they're most comfortable with as well, and what they have the most knowledge of. So once again, I am not a vet. I'm not telling you which drug to take, but I do encourage people to talk to their vet about anti-anxiety medication. Yep.
I have a question about that. I live in an urban area, so like fire alarms, like stuff like that. And like I found that like noise machines, like fans, fail. Like,
That's a great point.
That's what I use.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
this happens on walks.
yeah.
So I can't really noise machine. Yeah.
As on that note, noise machine, there's this woman, Eileen, I can't remember her last name. She did all this study on what type of noise is actually best, and brown noise has been shown the best to drown out the sounds over white noise or music or whatnot. Yeah, brown noise is just putting it out there, but and to the public, brown noise typically is the best to play for sound sensitive dogs.
Yeah.
And there are medications specifically for sound sensitivity. However, because it's CAR and it's so randomized, like exposure, we can't control the exposure. Something that instead of something that they take per incident, something that they would take every single day is going to be more the route. Yeah. Because there's this stuff called Cilio for dogs that are like super sensitive to thunderstorms and fireworks. That is specifically for sound sensitivity. So when and you can predict it, if your dog doesn't have generalized sound sensitivity and there is a specific thing, you can give it to them like an hour before an event, for instance. So like, July 4th's coming. I know we're going to have a fireworks show. I'm going to give my dog Cilio an hour before. And it's it doesn't have a sedative effect. It just helps keep them calm. The only one I would stay away from is ACE and Promazone. Anyway, that can mask anxiety. So it will give them a sedative side effect. And it doesn't look like they're panicking, but they're panicking on the inside.
It's something like Benadryl.
Benadryl is a sedative, right? So it's just going to put them to sleep. It doesn't necessarily address the anxiety. And some dogs don't respond to Benadryl. They don't have the sedative side effect. Quick note on Benadryl, just putting it out there: never give your kids Benadryl; it'll kill them.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do not give your dog kids Benadryl; it will kill them. Because it has a sweetener in it that I think has xylitol in it. But yeah, it's super dangerous. So if you were to ever have to give your dog Benadryl, make sure that it is a adult Benadryl. Even better if it's gel cap. Yeah. So yeah, once again, it doesn't have to. It's what's the dog into, right? So it doesn't. If the food is not that motivating to an animal, or not that they're not all that interested in it, let's figure out what the dog is into. So it could be toys, it could be love, it could be attention, it could be just happy tuck. We have to figure out kind of what their desire is, and same thing. Like I'm talking about getting $10,000, but if I was a billionaire, $10,000 ain't going to do anything for me to help convince me that spiders are cool. So what is a billionaire motivated by? We have to figure out what is that animal's favorite thing. So if you are out on walks, then it would be he hears sound. We then go into the happy talk as a result of that, or play if we have an opportunity for that. And then start in the home with those noises at a level that he can handle. And then create that trigger journal so that you can really kind of track. And same thing for the dogs, right? It's like that helps us understand what it truly is that's triggering the dog. When I hear clients say, well, I don't know, it's randomized. It's not random for the dog, right? So it's our job to do the detective work to figure out what it is that is triggering our animal, or why they're not doing something, or why they are reacting a certain way. That's on us. Does that make sense? Okay. Any other questions?
I have a big question.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess it's an overarching question, but like when you when there's a dog fight that breaks out, what's the best way to break it up? Like this.
Great question. Do not grab collars. Do not grab anywhere around here, because you will get redirected. Yeah. And as I said earlier, redirected bites are some of the worst. Dogs will cause much more damage in a redirected bite than they will to each other. So it's super dangerous. Best thing you can do is what's called the wheelbarrow method, and it's good to practice it with a dog who can handle body handling, so that you're practiced with it. So wheelbarrow method is you actually grab right above the knee on the dog right here, and you literally wheelbarrow them. And you're going to do that to the dog you have less control over. So because you can kind of scoot the other one off if you have more control over the other one. So yeah, you grab right here and you wheelbarrow them and pull them out, because they can't get to you because you're back here, and it's disruptive enough where they're like, oh. The only exception to that is if there's a latch on. Because if there's a latch on and you try and do that, you might cause more damage. There are things, if you are concerned about a latch on, you have a dog that's potentially a latcher, there's a thing called a bite stick. And so if that dog's latched on, the stick goes in between the teeth, and you turn it and it'll pop the jaw open off the dog. So that's how you get a latch on off. Yeah, bite stick. So you can have a little fight kit. It doesn't hurt to have a fight kit. We used to have them at Stray Hearts. little fight kit just in case there's a oopsie moment. We hope to never put an animal in a situation where we have to deal with that, but things happen. Did you have a question, Emily?
Yeah, just if you don't have that kit handy,
Yeah.
or, you know, stray dog, whatever the situation, and it does latch on, I mean, what is the best thing you can do?
Yeah, there's nothing you can do. I mean, you can try spray shield if you have it. You know, I mean, it's be prepared. If there's a latch on and you don't have any tools, there's nothing you can do. You could maybe, but it's just like this. The reason the bite stick works is because it's like tapered, so you can get it really in between the teeth. You know, so even if the teeth are almost fully closed, you can kind of get it in there, and then when you spin it, you know, it's wider, and so it's able to pop that jaw open.
So this one's probably a myth, but I kind of want to hear your attention on that. With the latch one, the thumb up the.
Oh yeah, nope. There you go. Thank you. Yeah, you can stick your finger up a butt.
Yeah.
That'll get dogs off.
I had heard of it.
Yep. No, I have a friend who that's before she knew she had an aggressive dog and she didn't know how to manage it, and that's how she'd get them off all the time.
Because I don't know how you would do that tool that you were saying with the pop the jaws open if it's in a shake.
If there's a shake, yep.
Yeah.
Yep. So, yep. Yeah, latches are scary. But yeah, you definitely don't want to try and rip them apart because that's how you get tearing. And if you're getting a dog who's latching on, if you have a dog who's latching on or going that far or causing damage, they should never be around another animal without a muzzle on.
That's in my experience, I have to break up a lot more dog fights than I've ever been put in a position to do.
Yep.
And 99% of the dog fights, they're not trying to kill each other.
Nope.
They're arguing.
Pretty much a dog will do as little damage as possible in order to get the other animal to go away. And so if they're escalating to that point, we've got a bigger thing. Most dog fights are actually just arguments. And they're just having words with each other. It's scary to us because they have big teeth and it's super loud and super scary. But typically they're not actually trying to hurt each other. It's just that the reason the redirected bites are so scary is because it's kind of like, I kind of imagine like two drunk dudes at a bar having words with each other, chest bumping each other, you know, but not actually fighting each other. They're just having words with each other. And then somebody comes in and tries to pull them apart. That natural reaction is that's the person who gets punched. Because it's like they're arguing, and then we come in and they think they're getting attacked. And so now they're in defensive mode in a whole different way, and they don't know it's you. And they're going, I'm getting attacked. And so they go into full defense mode, and then that bite happens. And it's usually way worse. I've seen some really bad redirected bites. That was a different dog.
I have one last question. Sorry to.
No, you're all good. This is what we're here for.
We've had her since July,
Mm-hmm.
and you know she's going to be due for some immunizations here pretty soon, and she's been known to fight the person that gave her the shot. So
Muzzle her.
we take her to that. We got to figure out how to do that.
Yeah, I would highly recommend teaching, because she is kind of weirded out by gear, you know, by equipment, is getting her similarly, exactly like you guys would do at the shelter with the harness, teach her with a muzzle. There's if you want to write his name down, there's a really great video of muzzle training, how to teach a dog to wear a muzzle, by Chirag Patel on YouTube. So you can follow along there. Basket muzzle is the way to go. These ones are the cheap ones. These ones are easily able to get. I think they're like, well, I don't know, with tariffs and all. Yeah, I would say they're probably in the $20 something range. These are called Baskervilles. Those are typically your kind of go-to. If the dog was going to have to wear a muzzle for a longer period of time, other than like isolated vet incidences, I would go a custom route. The muzzle movement makes some great custom muzzles. They're going to be more in like $100 to $150 range though, for those types of muzzles. But they're really, really nice muzzles, and they're designed for an animal that's going to have to wear it more long term. They actually, just as a side note, the muzzle movement also makes muzzles for dogs that have the issues of eating things they shouldn't eat, right? So like I have a current client right now whose dog, he likes to eat rocks and has already had surgery to remove them. And so we have to, he's learning to wear a muzzle so he doesn't eat rocks. So if you're gonna get a basket muzzle, you want them, this is hard. Some dogs can bite through a basket muzzle. So if it's a vet thing, you may want to go mesh muzzle, in all honesty, or one of those, I bet they have them here. Are those all? Yeah, one of these guys. I'm just going to show the camera.
Well, I was worried.
Because if this would mean that their mouth is fully closed, so they can't. If it's not like super, super aggressive, we're like worried she may bite, but it's not like a guarantee that she's going to go full blown attack on the human, then you could probably go mesh muzzle. This is typically the dogs who bite through basket muzzles are like, I'm going for you. Yeah.
I also recommend for a medical thing, the Academy for Dog Trainers.
Thank you.
Project, free training guide to teach dogs and for their owners to teach their dogs how to be body handle for vet.
Yep.
In general.
It's all husbandry stuff. And
100% free by some of the best people in the world.
Yep. Yeah, if you search, it's the Academy for Dog Trainers, and then it's called the Husbandry Project, and it's all husbandry training plans on teaching dogs to get blood draws and lay on their side and have their their nails trimmed and have their ears examined and how to wear a muzzle. And I mean, it's free. They're beautifully written plans. Yeah, the husbandry, you can find them online. It's downloadable. Yeah, it's a really great resource. And these training plans have been vetted over thousands of dogs, which is awesome. So really well designed. But yeah, I would suggest teaching her to wear a muzzle. That's going to just make your life so much easier. The other thing it's going to do is the first time if you ever get to the point where you feel confident enough to introduce her and Aurora, if her or Aurora, if you want to teach Aurora too, is wearing a muzzle, you're not worrying about that damage, right? So even if they gotten into an argument, you don't have to worry about them hurting each other. I will say, if you ever have a dog wearing a muzzle, you will notice that people will give you birth. They won't approach you, which I think is hysterical because a muzzled dog is the safest dog, right? It's way safer than that dog right there that's not muzzled. I think it's hysterical, but I'm like, but it's good. It's also a clue to other people. Maybe this dog doesn't want to be around humans, for instance. So, yeah, I go the muzzle route. Once again, with the mental enrichment toys, I think giving Jessica some things to do will help. It's also just really good for fearful dogs in general. Helps build confidence. Actually, even with sound sensitivity, like just kind of these things are going to make noise, but if they produce food as a result, I know you kind of missed the beginning of this, but you're welcome to take a look at these, and I can talk to you about them when we're done here. But even just some of this kind of stuff. Okay. It's the motor stuff. Yeah. Which is typical. Diesels in general are a pretty big trigger for dogs. Yeah. A lot of dogs. Yeah. Yeah, I didn't buy my truck for that purpose, but now I find it very helpful because then once we're at that level, I can bring my diesel truck to the training sessions to help out. So you can just which I have done. Any other questions? Okay. Well, just so you know, once again, we do these monthly. It's always going to be the third Saturday of the month at 2 p.m. here. So if you have further questions, come on by, spread the word. We are wanting to expand soon. I'm guessing maybe even the next one, if there's interest into cats and horses and livestock as well. So people can bring questions about other species. So we're not just dog-centric. I would love it. We do have just a little quick questionnaire just to give me some feedback on how we can improve these for you all. So there, Emily back there has them right there. If you would fill those out for us, that would be great. It's just a couple of questions. And then I just wanted to let you know a little bit. I was kind of talking about me, but we did talk about Safe Pet Partners. If you're interested in what we're doing, I encourage you. We have some promotional material. You can find out on our website more about kind of the programs we're offering, the support we're giving to our community. I encourage you to take a look at that if you're interested in being involved. We do have a little sign-up sheet. We can let you know when we do have events if you want to be a volunteer. The other thing we're trying to do right now is build a centralized foster network. So we are looking for fosters. And we just want to reiterate that fostering does not necessarily have to be this long-term, open-ended thing. It can be an overnight visit. It can be taking a dog out of a shelter for a day. It can be supporting a human who needs to go to the hospital, like I said, for 3 days. There's lots of different varieties. We are offering foster training as well, so you're not going to just get an animal and hope it works. We're here to set you up for success. So if you're interested in fostering, let us know as well. We have a sign-up sheet for that too. And we'll have you fill out a foster questionnaire, and that basically gives us an idea of what your home's like, what the integration is like, and how we can support you in that. Okay? Thank you all. Thanks for coming.